Israel has the military strength to take over Palestine and either kill or expel its entire population. So why doesn't it? In today's world, the international community would never allow such a takeover to happen. Israel would no doubt be much more successful than the Islamic State has in Iraq and Syria. But Israel is too economically involved in the global market, relies too heavily on foreign relations, and would be crippled by foreign sanctions. Instead of flat out invading Palestine, Israel is slowly building small settlements in Palestinian territory, and sometimes right in the middle of Palestinian cities, to slowly take over the area. This practice is highly condemned by the international community, but nothing is being done about it because of the U.S. influence on the issue. In December, in an unprecedented attempt, Palestine, with the help of Jordan, proposed a resolution to the UN Security Council that would have seen a peace treaty between Palestine and Israel, Palestine taken off terrorist lists, and for Israelis to evacuate Palestinian territory by 2017. The U.S., however, vetoed the resolution, and the UN was unable to move forward with it. The U.S. is against the illegal Israeli settlement building. Obama said this in an address to the public, but yet the U.S. continues to veto solutions and continues not to punish Israel. This map provides an in-depth look at what is happening in Jerusalem, the capital of both Israel and Palestine. So right here it is. West Jerusalem is part of Israel, and East Jerusalem is Palestinian territory. The dotted white line shows the borders that were established between Israel and Palestine before 1967. In 1967, during the famous Six-Day War, Israel took control of the West Bank and hasn't since returned the control to Palestinian Authority. The blue shaded areas are Israeli settlements inside Palestinian territory in Jerusalem. The settlements that Israelis are building are typically fortresses protected from their outside neighbors by high walls and barbed wire. The settlements are clearly built to exclude Palestinians and to create a strictly Israeli presence in the places they are built. Slowly, Israel is taking over Palestinian land, and if nothing is done about it soon, solutions to a two-state may be lost. In addition to building illegal settlements within Palestinian territory, Daniel Seidemann from the organization Terrestrial Jerusalem says that the municipal Jerusalem government and other municipalities alike have made it almost impossible for Palestinians to get legal building permits. On the virtual geopolitical tour of Jerusalem's website, Seidemann highlights that in 1967, Jerusalem, there were 69,000 Palestinians living in 12,600 homes. From there he says that today there are more than 290,000 Palestinians in the city now, living in only 45,000 homes. Between 1967 and today, Seidemann said that the Jerusalem government only gave out 4,000 building permits to Palestinians. Meanwhile, the population was increasing dramatically. This means that over 50% of Palestinian homes today were built without the legal building permits. Israel implements these lopsided building laws so that it can maintain its higher population in the city of Jerusalem. However, the restricting of building permits also makes it easier for Israel to slowly develop Palestinian territory with their own settlements. Since the Palestinians are unable to continue with development in their own land, this practice is racist and discriminating and should be illegal. On top of not allowing further Palestinian development, Israel has found a way to actually reverse it. From December to November of 2014, Palestinians, mostly acting alone, killed 11 Israelis in random terror attacks. Israel, knowing the Palestinians are highly against the Israeli settlements, is demolishing the homes of Palestinians who were involved in the violent attacks against Israelis, even if their families still live there. This is not a new practice. An NGO called BT Salem recorded almost 700 cases of Palestinian houses being demolished as punishment for crime before 2005. When he, a potential terrorist, knows that his house, the house in which his family lives, will be demolished, this will have an impact, says Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Vice News reports that the Israeli military discontinued the practice after a report discovered that the practice was not achieving the desired results in 2005. On top of not allowing further the home demolitions have now continued and are as unlawful as ever. The army arrived in the middle of the night. We had 5 minutes to leave, 12-year-old Palestinian girl tells Vice News. It was a massive explosion. It woke everyone in Silwan up, she went on. Afterwards, we went back inside. We couldn't even recognize it was our home. Everything was a mess, and the soldiers had peed on our mattresses. The girl's home was demolished by the Israeli army for her brother's crimes. The home demolition law, however, is one-sided. While Palestinians are taxed with losing their families' homes as a result of their crimes, Israelis who commit similar crimes do not face similar punishment. Since September of 2014, an average of 10 Palestinians per month have been killed by either Israel's military in raids or murdered by Israeli extremists. Not a single Israeli criminal, however, has had their home demolished. This practice is undoubtedly another Israeli tactic to slowly grow their presence in the West Bank, since it is almost impossible for Palestinians to get access to building permits. Once their homes are demolished, they have nowhere to turn to. The demolition of Palestinian homes in response to a lack of building permits and as a response to crime is only bringing the area further and further away from reaching the two-state solution and finally having peace. As if it wasn't enough, demolishing Palestinian homes and rebuilding their own isn't the only way Israel is making Palestinian infrastructure more complicated than it needs to be. If you look at the picture of Jerusalem I referenced in illegal Israeli settlement building section, you can see a long red line surrounding. There you can see the long red line surrounding the Palestinian side of Jerusalem. This right here, the long red line, is called the Palestinian Barrier. And it was built by the Israeli government to protect the citizens of Israel from Palestinian terrorists. The Jewish Virtual Library Organization has this to say about the creation of the fence. From September 2000 to mid-2005, hundreds of Palestinian suicide bombings and terrorist attacks against Israeli civilians have killed nearly 1,000 innocent people and wounded thousands of others. In response, Israel's government has decided to construct a security fence that would run near the Green Line between Israel and the West Bank to prevent Palestinian terrorists from easily infiltrating into Israel proper. That was from the Jewish Virtual Library. The fact that they use the term near the Green Line is the problem here. If you look back at the map, the fence was built around Jerusalem entirely, including the Palestinian area, which is now inside the fence here. The pre-1967 boundary, however, was meant to split Jerusalem, giving both the Palestinians and Jews access to the holy site of the Temple Mount. This white dotted line here is the pre-1967 border, which was before the Six-Day War and before Israel had invaded Palestine. Using the term near is just the Jews' access is just the Jewish Virtual Library trying to hide the fact that the government's intentions are to defend Jerusalem from all Palestinians and not just the terrorists. The making of the wall in 2002 cut off and effectively blocked an ancient Islamic road to East Jerusalem. The only way into East Jerusalem now for Palestinians is to wait in long lines at military checkpoints. Palestinians have literally died because they were denied access into East Jerusalem, where the hospitals are, says Mr. Seidemann. Checkpoints aren't only to be found when entering East Jerusalem, but military checkpoints are set up all over the West Bank, making life and travel very difficult for Palestinians.